Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan review. And unfortunately, I have some bad news. I hated it, and I don't want to have hated it, but I really did. I didn't, it took me about 6 hours to beat, around there. And it wasn't because it was short that I didn't enjoy it. It was just a really bad game all around. Maybe out of the 6 hours I played it, about 20 minutes at the most were fun, which is surprising, disappointing, frustrating. The game actually looked really cool when they showed off the first level. This was before it launched. The first place I saw it, gameplay wise, was IGN, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was IGN. And after having played the game, I saw that the level that they played at IGN was the first level, the very first level you start in. And it was so promising playing that first level, and it was promising watching them play it, you know, and show it off before the game even launched. Because the city is kind of open. You get to play as the turtles, you get to climb up buildings, parachute around, you know, with your turtle parachute, you know, your shell parachute, parachute around. It seemed like it's semi-open world. It didn't seem like it's a huge open world or anything, but it is pretty open, you know. That first level is really open. There's a couple levels like that throughout the game, and then every other level is linear little tunnels in the sewers and boring. You just run one way, you don't get to travel around. So one of the problems that I had with it was, you know, when I saw this gameplay, it looked like, alright, so I'm gonna get to run around, I'm gonna have like little side groups of enemies to be able to fight, which is super cool, especially if you like the combat, because the combat actually looks like a lot of fun. It's not. And I'll get into that. So it looked like it would have like side missions along with main missions. You'd be able to go around and explore and pick up side missions, maybe rescue some people in the city or something, you know, and beat up the villains that way. But it's nothing like that. Very linear game with a couple levels that are a little bit bigger. There is some really cool stuff in the game, but overall just was not happy. I'm not happy with my experience at all. Single player, I think it's quite possible that the co-op could be a lot of fun, and the cool thing is you can play online. You don't have, it's not just local co-op. Actually, I think they scratched local co-op, so they only have online co-op, but that's fine for me anyways. That's fine. But after having not such a fun experience single player, I really don't want to even bother with the co-op. I just don't care enough. I am interested though. Like I'm wondering if maybe it's so much more fun playing co-op that I wouldn't hate the game as much as I do, and I wouldn't be so disappointed. But for now, just terrible. Now, part of the bad stuff that I didn't like about the combat itself, it wasn't very fluid. The biggest issue I had was just the fact that there's so many abilities that you can use and the different turtles that you can play as, and they each have their own attack sets. You know, they all have their own moves, their own specials, and that's really cool because there's really diverse amount of ways to attack your enemies and stuff. The problem was the skills themselves have such long cooldowns. And you have to upgrade these, which you can shorten the cooldowns later on, but by the time you actually shorten down the cooldowns on your abilities, where you can noticeably use your abilities a little bit more often than normal, than default, you've already beaten the game. Game's over. It's a huge waste. So a lot of that should have been really looked into, I think. The cooldowns should have been a lot shorter by default. I was thinking maybe they should just not have had an upgrade system. I mean, I get why they do it. People like progression in their games and stuff. But some of these games don't need that type of progression. You know what I mean? They just don't need it. Especially you got a 6-hour game, and it takes at least 3 hours to get any real upgrades. You know, like you're halfway through the game when you start getting some upgrades, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You gotta know your game, man. Know what you're making here. I'm not even a developer, so I feel like a jerk off for saying that. But I'm playing this and I'm just like, what the hell is going on in these people's minds? But yeah, that really ruined it. Just the cooldowns alone, and I could see it maybe being an issue. Maybe they thought about it and they were like, well, if we make the cooldowns really short, they'll be too overpowered. But at the same time, it could be a little bit challenging. Sort of, combat-wise, a little bit. Bosses were the most challenging, of course, but when you're fighting normal enemies, and you're just mashing the same button over and over again. You have two buttons, a normal attack and a strong attack, but for the most part, taking down all your enemies, you could just use your normal attack and just spam it. And you can switch it up on your own because you're like, I'm bored sitting spamming the same button over and over, but for the most part, that was it. Like, you know, all enemies could be taken down with regular attacks. Especially, I mean, and then you're forced to use regular attacks because your cooldowns are so damn long. Like, you can't use your abilities. It's horrible. So another part with the upgrade system is there are these little spots throughout the levels where you can actually return to your lair and purchase items. The items you can purchase are like temporary buffs, speed boosts, or damage boosts. You can even summon turrets, rocket turrets, machine turrets. There's some really cool stuff. The game has lots of interesting ideas and actually really good ideas, but none of them work like well at all. Like they're basically some cool ideas that could have worked, but they're useless in the game as a whole. They're just useless. I didn't buy any of the items. I didn't really care. I did go in there like once to go check it out and stuff to see what was in there, but it's too small of a game, too short of a game for any of that to really matter. It would have mattered if the game was longer, if there's more to do, but for this type of game, it's overcomplicated. It should have definitely been simplified. So when you go back to your lair in the middle of a level, when you're already on a mission, you're inside the level, it's stage select. You go back to your lair to purchase items, but you can't upgrade your skills. If you've earned enough XP to upgrade your skills, you can only do that in between stages. So I thought that was really weird that you could go back to your lair to purchase items, but you couldn't go to your lair and upgrade your skills in between. You know, so if you did have enough XP, you'd have to wait until you beat the level and then select another. There is the replay stuff, you know, I mean, you can replay each mission after you've beaten them. The co-op stuff, I don't know. So I just thought that was interesting. That was another thing that bothered me, was that you could go back, you could go to your lair to buy stuff, but not upgrade. It made no sense to me. And some parts of the game were a little too hard, just randomly. And I've seen that before. I saw it in Transformers Devastation, same kind of a thing. I don't know what's going on. It just seems like they're not polishing up everything. They're not really... there's some things that just don't work. It's like they're not paying attention to everything that's going on in the game. And I don't know if it's rushed. I don't know if I would call it that. Some people might. Something's off. It's definitely off. So there's parts that are too hard that make no sense. They just come out of nowhere. There's like, holy crap, where'd this hard, you know, why is it so hard right here? It's, you know, not even a boss or anything. It's just like, what just happened? There are parts where these enemies stun lock you forever. One of my least favorite things were these lasers. You have a dodge button, right? So you can dodge around. But apparently some of these enemies have lasers that are homing lasers, even though you can see them fire straight. So you can dodge around them. You can see them going past you. But then the other times they just home in on you. They just home. They're just like, oh, people, and then you're stun locked until you're dead. And it's like, okay, well, what the hell? That was really freaking annoying. And then there were other parts where it was too easy. Where, for example, there's some missions where you have to activate items. Pick up an item, collect it or whatever, or defuse a bomb. And when you go to defuse a bomb, you just have to hold the button. You walk up to the thing, you hold the button until the meter, you know, fills up. And there were times where, you know, the whole point of that is where the enemies are supposed to stop you. They're supposed to interrupt you. But I would just, after a while, I learned, took a couple times to see, but you could just walk up to that item, hold the button, and almost never be interrupted. The enemies would just be standing around looking at you and whatever. And you could see that they would want to, like, interrupt you, but it was just silly. Like, half the time they would just be dumb, and then the other half they would interrupt you. So... again, that's another thing where it just feels incomplete. Like, it just feels like it wasn't fully polished or something, you know? And those missions themselves were pretty dumb anyways. They were boring. Everything about this game was really boring. And I hate feeling this way about it because it looks so great, right? Like, you watch this and it looks so much fun, and then you play it and it's like, nope, this sucks. It's just clunky and weird, and I cannot believe, like, I refuse to believe that the same people that worked on a game like Bayonetta 1 and 2 worked on this. I don't know what happened. but it's completely wrong. Because Bayonetta is really smooth. The action combat is smooth. It's great. It's fluid. It feels fun. It is fun, and it's awesome. And then you got this, and it's like, what? I believe I covered all my notes. Let me double check here though, real quick. Yep. I probably could say a couple other things. Oh, well, the voice acting was actually really good. I liked the voice acting. Not the most amazing voice acting ever, but it was really good. It was great voice acting. The artwork is beautiful. I love the graphics on it. I know some people have complained about the visuals of it. They think it's like outdated or it looks old or whatever. No, it's just cartoony. I've seen that said about a lot of games that have a specific art style meant to be cartoony. I love cartoony looks. I love cel-shaded graphics. It's like saying the Walking Dead game or the Wolf Among Us is old graphics. No, it's not. It's stylized, It's just stylized, man. It's really cool, and I love that kind of stuff. I really do. I love cartoony stuff. I don't want realism in all my damn games, man. Anyways, so yeah, overall, I would really love a refund on my game. I would. I feel like I threw money in the trash, and I don't want to say that. I feel so horrible for saying that, but that's how I feel. That's just the way I feel, man. There's a lot of great ideas that this game could have been really cool. It could have been, but it's not. It was boring, horrible. And for me, it was bad. It was so bad. Oh my gosh. And I'm so sorry to say it. I really am. In the past I've never done reviews on games I didn't like. I just wouldn't talk about them, but now I feel like, I want to share my experience. Like, cuz this way I at least get to talk about a game. I get to share my experience, which is unfortunate that it has to be something bad. I would just be quiet before, I'd just be like, you know what, the game's not worth talking about, so screw it, whatever. I didn't like it. Out of my head, but nowadays I'm starting to talk about what I didn't like. I don't want to though. I don't want to bash a game, but bleh. Rental, guys, rental. Make this a rental, or don't spend any more than $10 for it. I seriously wouldn't recommend this at even $20. I wouldn't recommend this game at $20. If you have the money to burn, cool. Right on, burn your money, man. I don't have the money to burn. And this game was hugely disappointing. And I wasn't even hyped. I was excited for it. I thought it looked really cool, and I was like, yeah, I can't wait to play this. But I wasn't like, this game looks amazing, it looks like the best game in the world. I wasn't like that. I wasn't all super hyped for it. I just was really looking forward to it, and majorly let down. It was really bland, and like I said, none of the system worked because it's such a short game. There's all the forced upgrade system. It's forced. It's forced because the timing of everything is just way off. You've beaten the game before any of that upgrade system even matters. It's unnecessary and a waste. But the concepts are good. The ideas are there. They're good ideas. Everything would be good if the game utilized it properly. All right. Anyways, $10 or rental, basically the same price, anyways. But that's how I feel. Thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you have a really awesome day. I'm very sorry that this game was just bleh. Anyways, bye.